So welcome to Bunny's Designs Part 2. This is the Johanna Basford's Johanna's Christmas, and I'm working on the gramophone page, and I'm using my Derwent Inktense pencil, and for colours I'm using my little book of watercolours, so I can determine what shades I want and what colours I want to use. So I looked at the green aquamarine, and I quite liked this colour, and so I'm using a very light touch, and I'll just do this first colour first, just very gently, hardly, no pressure, just a little bit of teasing that colour, and I'm just putting it where there would be shadow. So I'm just putting it where there would be shadow. So the light's coming from this direction. So we've got some nice little highlights on here, and I'm using one pencil for all these shades. All those shades came from one pencil. So that's how to do a first curl. So I shall zoom in, and as I say, welcome to Ustream. It's a live stream, but Ustream's not behaving very well today. But it is a live stream, and also recorded for YouTubers, so to watch at their leisure. So welcome to YouTubers, and thanks for watching. I hope you find this interesting. So I find it a bit easier if I fold the page, the book, so I can turn the book carefully. It's just a bit easier to manipulate, and because I've actually got one colour for quite a big space, I can actually put those out of the way. So I'm working here at the moment. So again, the light's coming from this direction, so it would be under here first, and then it would be transferring to this side. And I'm just putting the tiniest little bit of a scratch of colour. And again, that side. And I'm putting nothing at all where I want to highlight, because these are Inktense pencils. These are Derwent Inktense pencils, and you need very little colour in order to get quite a nice deep colour. And I like the fact that I can get all the information I need with one pencil. I'm not having to pick up different pencils. I have one pencil out, and that's it. And from this one pencil I can get 10 shades, and 10 shades is ample. So I've got a number 3 Daler-Rowney rigger, and that's got some bend on it, so all the pressure's on there, and I'm dunking this into my little pot and wiping it on a baby wipe so it's just damp. It just wants to be damp. It doesn't want to be wet, because you're going to saturate your page. So I'm activating this colour and then just teasing a little bit at the top and then coming back down. And really, you want to be upside down, really. So I'm going to be manipulating a little bit of colour down, and then taking that low light right down to the bottom, so a little tiny bit up here, and then really giving that deep highlight shadow at the bottom. So again, a little bit of colour. We want a little bit of colour, and if it's not dark enough, it's fine, because we can go back in and put some dark in later. So you want a little bit of colour, and then you really want to manipulate that dark to the bottom curve. So again, bearing in mind this is the top, take on a little bit of colour, and this is why you don't have to be too precise with a pencil, because you can manipulate the colour where you want it with a paintbrush. So you're still literally watercolouring, but what you're doing is you're doing it with a damp brush. The pencil is actually putting the colour on. So we've done that one. I shall do this one next here. So I hope everybody's okay. I hope I've actually... I think Ustream's not very well again. It's Monday morning blues for Ustream again. So carefully just manipulate that colour, and then you want that deep, natural, low light just touching in there. So can you just manipulating a little bit of colour on top, and you're always working really from light to dark, because we can always put more dark in if we need to, which I shall show you in a minute. And again, it's a very quick way of working. You've got your pencil down, scratching a little bit of colour in, and manipulating that dark. Try not to do too much dark, because we don't really want that on our highlight. Remember, the highlight's the most important one, and then you can go back with the dark afterwards. So again, just activating that, and then teasing that low light back and manipulating that colour to give you a natural low light without having to go back. If you don't want to, you can put as much. If you wanted a flat colour, just colour the entire section in, like I did the gramophone box on part 1. I just wanted a flat colour, so I just very carefully stroked in some flat colour. So that's the right way up, and that low light and shadow is not really enough. So take the end of the point, and it's best to do this away from your work, because if you splatter, you'll splatter your work. But I'm just showing you what I'm doing. So you're just touching the end, and it will be very, very strong, so be careful. Just touching this particular line, and then what you can do is just put that down there, and then that will just hit there. So you can put a darker shadow on this. Again, just follow it round. It's always easier to follow round. And tease in a little bit of a low light down there. And you don't have to do this if you feel you've got enough. This is just to put, just if you want to put a little bit more of a shadow on it. So when you turn that round carefully, got a little bit more definition. So you can always go darker, but you can't go lighter. And again, I'd forgotten this little bit here, so I didn't touch it as much, and I haven't got such a strong colour. I've got a little bit of colour just on there, but if you touch it quite definitely, and then you can tease this colour into here. You just need that little bit more. Just tease a bit more colour in here. And again, you can do it, but you've got to make sure that's dry, because if it was wet, you would have a very, very strong colour. And never dip the end of your paintbrush, your pencil, into water. 2 reasons: the colour's far too intense for that, and you will wreck your paintbrushes. So again, I just want the tiniest amount here, probably a little bit darker under there, and then a little bit of a line here. And then just a little bit there, because we can do. That's going to be in shadow. That's going to be in shadow, and so is that. And this is going to be in shadow, just very gently. Stroking some colour in. And you're not pushing down at all on these pencils. You don't need to. You're just stroking a little bit of colour in. So that's quite nice. And it does not take very much pencil to come out with such a nice lot. Oh, hi Emerald QT, welcome to Bonnie's Designs. I think Ustream's having a spot of bother. Either that or it's my laptop. It could be my laptop. It could be my laptop. So I'm just trying to give this a little bit of shadow, and then we're going to manipulate it with a damp brush. So I just want the tiniest amount at the top, and then drag that backwards so you've got quite a nice low light. Put a tiny bit more in there in a minute, but I can always go darker. One thing I can't do is go lighter. So you want to activate the tiniest amount and then push that to make a lovely dark, and manipulate it so the dark goes to the bottom, the back edge where you need it. But at the moment we're just activating this colour Then we can, it's easy if you turn the work because you can push do a little bit of colour down here and then manipulating that colour where you want it. Just the tiniest amount of highlight. Because as I say, you can go back in with some more colour when you've finished. But you get quite a nice effect fairly quickly, so you don't have to, if you don't want to do too much detail. You can get quite a nice effect. And if you don't get right to the edge with a pencil, you can manipulate it with the brush. So you can take that colour right to that line, even though that pencil was nowhere near it. And it's good practice for your brush skills as well. Oh, hi DRD Mom, welcome to Bunny's Designs. Oopsie, I just forget where I am now. Sometimes I concentrate too much on there. You can always put a little bit more on later. So while I'm here, I'm just going to drop that down, finish on that one there. Activate a little bit of colour and then manipulate that colour to taper off. And then you can pick this one up and manipulate that colour. And I say if you don't get too much, you can always go back in. So welcome to Bunny's Designs. This is a live stream with live people having a chat and a natter. We're listening to my waffle. Or was it dulcet tones, somebody said. It's a very quiet chat place, isn't it? Just do this one in here then. But it's a fairly quick way of working this. Well, I say it's fairly quiet, unless we have a bark alert. Now, we could have a bark alert because I was very naughty yesterday. And I ordered some more colour books. And we ask ourselves, do we really need some more colour books? And the answer always is the same. Of course we do. So I found another Christmas one. I was trying to find the Victorian Christmas one, but I couldn't find it. Just sorry if I'm going to make you all a bit dizzy. I'm just trying to show you how to manipulate this colour. You must just have a damp brush because the colour will run if you have a brighter one. So that hasn't, if I turn it the right way around, it's kind of not as deep as I want it. So I can take the paintbrush, damp brush, and say, if you do this off the front of your work so you don't damage your work, just manipulate the tiniest amount, and then you can just drop in a little bit of colour here. Just to give a bit more depth if you want to do this. Yes, these are the Derwent Intense. Oh, Emerald's got the Fantastic Beast one. I haven't even tried mine yet. So where was I working? Here, wasn't I? Yeah. No, I've actually not activated this, so it should be quite dark, that. I mean, you could do this all dark if you want. You could do all that gorgeous teal colour, but I kind of like just putting a few extra highlights and lowlights in. So you've got your highlights, which is fine, but more important is your highlights when you first activate, because you can always go back and put a little bit of dark in. So you can just, again, stroke a tiny bit of dark in there. But what you can't do is put light in. So you can always go darker, so always just think about that. And then if you want, you can just tease a little bit of colour back into here if you want to. Just to give yourself some highlights and lowlights. And then you can keep away from your highlights, and then you'll always have some kind of nice lowlights there. So I think I've activated all that. And as I say, if you're down here and you want some darker, this has been dried a while now, so I've already done this once, but if you go over it again, you've got to make sure it's dry. Another layer of that Intense just takes it down another notch to make it some real dark tones down there compared to this. So you can play about as much or as little as you want, but it's fairly quick, is this? And that's how I like to work. So one pencil and at least 10 different shades. So if I move to here, and again thinking about the light coming that way, underneath. Now you probably won't recognise this page because I've drawn quite a lot in it. So this is part 2. So you can just put a little bit of pencil. I'm not putting hardly any pressure on. Just a little bit of pressure. So it's a good idea to keep it in its right place. So you can remember the right way up, sorry. So you want all the shadow on the far side here. And I've obviously missed a bit there. So I need to just kind of... I'll leave that to dry just a little bit because it's Indian ink, so it's a bit wet. It just must dry a little bit, but by the time I've gone round all these swells, it should be dry. So again, start at that side and just a little bit of colour. We don't want much. We don't want much at all. And the beauty of it is that you don't have to use your pencil too hard. You can just stroke a little bit of colour in. Now I always fill these in, I don't know why, but I do. So if you bring that colour around, again just a bit here. So again, even though I've traced my swirls, they're not quite as good because it's not a natural curve for me. My curves would go the other way because I'm left-handed. So that was a bit brash, was that? But never mind. It'll probably look okay because the colour will draw it together. So I'm not pressing down at all. There's no need to. These Inktense pencils have got some gorgeous colour in them. It's just a light stroke, and it's just at one side. Now if you want it all flat, like a felt pen, then you can do it gently within the lines all over. But if you want some highlights and shadows, and there's no blending at all, you just very carefully scribbling in a little bit of pencil. And the magic that happens is with the paintbrush and the damp brush. So again, that's at the bottom. So who's got any questions? So in part one, that's a bit thin, is that one? Goodness me, I didn't draw that one. Oh, sorry, Suzanne. Yeah, I think it's either, I think it's Ustream. I don't think it's very well. It's Monday Morning Blues, I think. Welcome back, Suzanne. And we lost Phil as well, didn't we? Did we lose Phil? So I do apologise. I don't think it's my laptop, but it could have been. But Ustream's not behaving well. It's Monday Morning Blues. It's Monday Morning Blues. So I'm going to just do this very carefully, and again, there's no pressure on your hands, it's just stroking that colour in. Sometimes it's a little bit easier because you've got a natural curve that way rather than backwards. So it's a good idea to actually move the book. To be more comfortable. So I'm trying to think about the light. And just put the tiniest amount of colour, because a little bit of this goes a long way. And that's why you don't want to press on. You're just stroking the palest. If you were blending, this would be the palest. Just gently stroking the brush against the page. You just want a light coating of colour. And I've only got a little bit to do now, so I've got this swirl here. So again, that's underneath, and that very light stroke is going to give you that vivid colour. You don't need to dig in unless it's a bigger space. If it was a bigger space, you would, but You don't need to do it because you also put a mark on your page as well, which we don't want. Yeah, this is going to look like a delicate watercolour. And then there's a swirl in the middle here. So again, that's the inside, and that's it. So this is a sharpened pencil, and this is how it looks when you've finished. You've barely touched the entire thing. So if I just pan out a little bit. No, I think it's you. Thanks, Suzanne. I think it's Ustream. Ustream's having a bit of a bad day, so people get kicked out. So if I just pan out a little bit, you can see the difference. So on this side, it's exactly the same principle, a very light touch of pencil activated with water. So that's before and that's after. And it gives you quite a nice effect. And the pencil is only on one side because that's how you get this nice effect. So we'll go back in now. Sorry for making everybody ache. Oh, thank you. Yes, this one is green marine, aquamarine. So what I've done is I went through my little book, and this is my watercolour book that I have a lot of control over. But because this is kind of what I call a flat colour, I don't need to do that. But it's shown me, now what I could do with this one here, and just that bit there, is stroke right the way across the entire swirl. And then very carefully go over it again, just here, again very gently, but that's 2 coats and that's 1 coat, and that's the difference. And that's, so you've got dark, medium and pale. So when I go back in my number 3 Daler Rowney rigger, it's a damp brush, and I can just tease that colour out. And I want very little at the bottom because, oh, that's the wrong way around, but never mind. I must have turned it upside down. I can mix that up. So I need a little bit of colour on the top, and then I want to draw that colour to its deepest at this side. It's a lot easier if you turn your page round, but if I did that every time I'd make you all thick. And again, that's the inside there. So I'm just going to rectify this particular one. Actually, no, I am right because the light's coming from this side. So this is going to be in shadow a bit. And just tease some colour down, and then take that dark shadow right to the edge to activate all that colour. And that's just how easy it is. Yes, thank you. It's very easy, and you don't have to have 10 different pencils to pick up and blend. You blend with a damp brush, and it's so quick and so easy. And I found it actually easier than using my little book of watercolours because it's quicker and you get a nice effect. And then if you do want that to be a little bit darker, you just stroke the end and just touch there, and where you want that shadow. So you can always put more in. You can always put more in and create quite a nice effect. Just a little bit of dark there, because you've already got your highlight. Well, I'm hoping that Derwent will bring out a little book of watercolours like mine so people can try the pencils. And have a travel set as well. But we'll have to see. So it's very, very quick. Very quick. Doesn't take long at all. The tracing takes the longest when you're tracing to make bigger patterns. So you won't recognise this particular page because it had I want a bit of colour on there, then really take that down. And then blend that round. And you get some quite nice effects. Now I've just missed this little bit here, so I do these a little bit darker because they're always hidden. So you can, oops, sorry, again you just activate a little bit of colour and tease it up for the highlight, and then have it down there for the low light. It's easier if you're the other way around, but I can't twist round today, so just a little bit of colour. As long as you keep that highlight light, because you can always make the darker dark, but you can't make the lighter light. So again, you want to just manipulate a little bit of colour and then really take that dark edge right to that line, and again coming backwards, activate that colour and tease that colour to the edge. So you're pushing all that dark right to that edge, and that will give you a really nice highlight and low light effect with very little effort. And the flat colour you just stroke across. Again, activate that colour. And it's quite therapeutic. Again, it's another nice, quiet, peaceful way to work. You know, the pencil's done its work now. There's just you, a paintbrush. I mean, you could put all this colour in at home with the paintbrushes and then go on holiday or go out for the day. Or go on holiday. Leave the paintbrushes at home and your colour book is ready to colour. You know, you've put all the highlights where you want. You can just colour it in and leave the pencils at home. Just colour every book, every page like this, ready to be done. And it is a fairly quick way of doing it. You don't have to, and there's no blending. I can't do blending because my hands hurt too much. So this is an easy way, and you're not going over things 10 times unless you want to. I mean, if you want it to be absolutely perfect, then you can go back in it and do what you want. But this is just a really nice, peaceful way to colour your colour books, and that's what it's all about. It's about tranquility, it's about de-stressing, it's about enjoying yourself. It's not about, oh my goodness, what colour am I going to do this, and what if I do that wrong. I've made lots of mistakes, but you keep going, and then eventually I think it looks okay. Yes, I was thinking, and the thing about this way is you're in control of your pencils, so your children can be supervised, but then they've got a tablespoon of water to spill. And even as an adult, I can spill anything and drop pencils on the floor as well. So this way, I'm not going to break anything. And I've done this in the car with a tablespoon of water. And although it's my car, hubby is not going to go mad. Hubby's not going to go mad if you spill a tablespoon of water or a teaspoon of water in the car. And if you sit your little dish on your baby wipe, it will absorb it anyway, so it doesn't go even anywhere it's not supposed to. So again, I could do to have a few more highlights and lowlights in here, or I can just leave it like that. Again, I can tease that down to a highlight. I can do it all at once, or I can just activate this and then. So you're basically watercolouring, because you're actually colouring in with your paintbrush. You're activating this watercolour. Now the Inktense, once they're wet and set, they are wet and set. You can't manipulate them once they're dried. But the Derwent watercolour pencils you can. The Derwent watercolour pencils you can activate every time you touch them with water, so you can carry on blending as much as you want. So again, that's quite that highlight is enough for me if I didn't want to go in there and do any more. When I use the Derwent pencils in the Colin Thompson book, I don't normally go back in. That's normally it, but I don't normally use them like this. So I'm going to do another page. When I finish this page, I'm going to go in the Colin Thompson book, and I'm going to use these pencils, the watercolour pencils, the Derwent watercolour pencils, exactly the same way as I'm using these. And that's fairly quick, is that? It's fairly quick. Yes. Yes, definitely. Yep, you can spill anything. Yeah, hubby bought me my first car. I think it was 50. Did you buy it last year? 50? Or did you buy it this year? I can't remember. I lose track of time. So he bought me my first car, and I actually chose it because I could change gear with my finger. And I thought, yes, this is the car for me. But I've only driven it a couple of times this year. So we'll have to see. If I don't get better, then it's hubby drives the car anyway. But bless him, I said to him I'd never had a car, and so he bought me this. But I can't drive at the moment. Now I'm hoping I'm going to see the doctor this afternoon, and we're going to start again. He said he needed a week to read all the notes. So anyhow, off we go. That should be good. The thing is, I get so carried away doing this that I talk a lot of waffle, and I forget that this is an art thing, an art program rather than a medical one. But I do want to encourage people who think, well, I can't do anything because the hands hurt. So that's basically why I waffle a lot, because if I can do it, anybody can do it. There's a lot of videos out there for people who can use pencils till the cows come home, but that's not me. I want to be able to just do things that are very easy and fairly quick. And that don't hinder you too much. So I apologise if you've all got hands like bricklayers and you can pencil till the cows come home. But I do things that are hopefully still artistic, but are a bit easier. And they're all done in real time. And again, I think that's quite nice, they're all done in real time. Well, yes, I thank you. What I wanted to do is art for therapy. As I say, there's a lot of really artistic people out there who can just do things with their hands, but there are a lot of people out there that can't. You know, anybody that's got arthritis in their fingers, you know, and colouring would be so good for the soul. And I use it for pain relief, but obviously using a pencil is not an option. Did I go down that one? I think I have, haven't I? Yes. See, if you touch it again, you can realise you've already been down there. So if I pan out, and you can see how different it is. So when you look at it now, it looks quite nice. You know, you've got a little bit of a highlight there, and that was just with one pencil. This was with one pencil. That was with one pencil. In fact, I've missed a little bit, and I think I used thingy gold. I think I used Sicilian yellow. So just going to put a little bit of that here. So there's one line of Sicilian gold on there. Sorry, Sicilian yellow, and then I'm going for a finer brush. I'm going for my 10-0, and again, you're just teasing that colour out. And you've got a bit of a highlight. So I think I've done all the swirls, and again, you may not recognise this because I did I love the swirls, but I love the ivory paper. So I don't normally do backgrounds. So I took my trusty children's grease, it feels like greaseproof paper, but it's actually tracing paper. And I copied a few of Joanne's swirls, and then I kind of turned them backwards on themselves, and I rejiggled them and took curls and turned the paper over and then did them backwards, so I could fill this page, but it's almost level. It's even. I mean, even's a better word. The one thing it does though is it doubles the amount of work you have to do on a page. So this page could be in a couple of hours done like this. It's going to take me about three or four. So that's the difference. And again, I can't hold a pen. You know, sometimes you'll see me do this, which is horrible. But it's my two fingers and my wrist that is actually moving the pencil. So there's no, I'm not gripping it at all. It's just stroking it across the top. And that's why I use the riggers, because all the pressure is in the bendy brush. It's not in your fingers. So you can literally stroke water across the top and get some lovely effects. So I think I've finished all that one, so I can put my green aquamarine away. And I always like, if I look back at this page, and I don't always do this, but sometimes I do. I enjoyed painting this. Now this is the Derwent ink tens, and this is the Hydrus. But when I did the baubles, that was the Dr. Martens, and bear with me 2 seconds, so I can find it. And these are stronger. So these were the Hydrus, and these were the ink tens. So the ink tens are stronger than the Hydrus, but I've used them in different ways. They were the Hydrus as well. I can't find the baubles now. That was the Graffy Tint. Bear with me 2 seconds, because I will find this page. It's about somewhere. They were the Hydrus as well. So they get some quite nice effects using them from a palette. But I found the pencils to be a little bit easier. And you have more control. I mean, the aqua one is that one. So that's in pencil form, and that's its darkest, but I've used it a little bit paler. That's its darkest, so you can have a lot of control over the pencils. So I quite like the purple in here, so we'll have, again, I'm going to use my little book, and instead of using it as a water brush, a water palette, paper palette, I'm going to use it as a swatch colour. So I have quite a few purples. There's a peacock foot blue, and there's lagoon. I like lagoons. I'm going to put lagoon down, and which is down here somewhere. So again, I'm just going to be gently stroking colour, and again, what I'm going to do is I'll zoom in a second. Yes, I do mine on a lap desk. I have one of those. It's for pushing under your bed, so you can have your dinner. It's like a trolley, but it pushes under your bed. But if you use it, and when it tilts, mine tilts at part of it, I don't know what it's called. It's like the ones in hospitals, but it's smaller. And I've taken mine downstairs now so that I can actually have my laptop on there. Because I can't have my laptop on my knee, it's too painful. Although I've now mended my little tiny one, so just about. So again, apologies for anybody who's able-bodied, but mine's designed for everybody, children as well. You know, children sometimes don't want to be scribbling forever, but they like, you know, can scribble a little bit and then add water, and of course they think it's wonderful because they're painting, but actually they'll get a lot out of doing this, I think. What was I going to say? I was going to zoom in. That's what I was going to do. So again, I'm just going to move these out of the way. So this is why I love my Derwent pencil bag. And you can put pens in it as well. It actually fits pens in as well. So I'm here. So what I've done is I've just again stroked really gently, and I've kind of followed the contour of this and left it. And then I'm just going to very carefully go over the inside again. So I've kind of got like three, I've got nothing at all, I've got a very faint covering, and then I've got a double covering, but two faint ones rather than thick ones. And again, I'm going to do that, and then just a little bit in the middle. Do that a little bit in the middle. And go all the way around. Now some of my shapes aren't as good as, I've not done a very good job, but it's filled the gap up a little bit. So again, another little bit in the middle, to this one. And this is quite nice because the way I work for hours on end. And again, that's definitely a no-no. Even with pencils, I didn't think I'd be able to use these, but I can. I can use them like this. And I know people are saying, well, you blend very gently, that's good. But I don't want to pick 6 pencils up. You know, I want to pick 1 pencil up, and that's it. It's done now. Again, it's not always possible, but just circular motions, a little bit of a scribble, that's all we're doing, and then another little scribble in the corner, just the tiniest amount. But because these are so vibrant, you don't really need a lot. You can do it a little bit neater than me. So today, unfortunately, my hands are not brilliant this week. Slightly better than last week, but and there's one here. So I've missed drawing the. I've put this swirl in. So again, I've just got to be a little bit careful and just whoopsie. And oh, I can actually do that because it'll be dry by the time I come back to it. So again, just a little bit, and then a little bit more in the middle. And there's quite a few of these. You don't think there's many, but there's quite a few. But you just pick things off, a bit like the Kirby Roseanne. You know, you look at it and you go, ooh, but you just very slowly follow everything round and just very carefully pick things up. And sometimes I like colouring the pages. I don't want it to end, but you know, obviously has to. But it's not a race. You've got to be kind of a little bit patient, and that's what it's about. It's about picking colours, taking your time and enjoying the process. This is supposed to be relaxing. This is a hobby. Every hobby's got to be relaxing, otherwise we wouldn't want to do it. Maybe sometimes they think, oh well, actually that purple's not as good as the other purple. It's a colour book. I'm just, again, you probably see sometimes that I hadn't quite done what I should have done. Just want a little bit of a flat colour in there. And I can go back to this one now. It'll be dry. And just keep following it round so you can it's a very quiet, peaceful way of working as well. There's no clattering of pens and rummaging through pencil cases. And you can do this on most of the things I do, you can do on a cushion tray, because I work a lot of the time on a cushion tray. And the cushion tray is quite nice. Oh, we could have a bark alert, maybe not. The cushion tray is quite nice because, again, you can work on your knee, and if you've got bad knees like me, it's fine because the pressure's not there. And I have a cushion tray in the car. I mean, there's no reason why you don't have to have such a set thing. I have to be doing something in the car because I'm very nervous in the car after my little bump a few years ago. So again, I can sit and do this, and I do my Bible journaling. So again, you can do it with these pencils. And you can do your colouring in as well. And before you know it, an hour's quite easily gone. So I think we've done all those. And again, they look very pale, but when you activate them, they should look better. So I've completely finished with this pencil, but we'll leave it there just for a second. So again, we'll have number 3, the damp brush, and we'll just pick this little one. So we want the tiniest amount of colour, and then we can activate this one and then draw it into there. So again, activate this one, pale colour, and then draw it into there. Thank you. Well, is it relaxing or is it boring? There's a very fine line between interesting and boring. But I hope I'm not too boring. But again, it's just really nice to activate all these colours. So again, you just want to tease a little bit of colour out there, and then we've got the darker one. And normally you can take a little bit of that one straight into that one. It's always easier to work with your hands than, and again, that was just a little bit too wet, but you can get away with it. I don't like crinkly pages. But if you're not bothered, then you can be as wet as you want. But you don't need to be. You've got more control when you have a damp brush than you have when you have a wet brush. So we've got a little one up here. So again, just tease that colour down and then activate the other one back up. And it doesn't take much. It doesn't take much at all to kind of tease that colour down. And if you think, well, actually I've lost my dark shadow now, then you just touch with a damp brush a couple of times and then just touch in there. And if you want to, you've got some more space. I haven't actually activated that one, have I? I have to forgive my wobbly chair. And just keep going round doing all the purple ones. Or you don't have to, you can do them whatever order you want. You can actually colour all of it and then you can sit with the paintbrush. So you can go around putting all the colour pencil down first. I actually quite like to choose the next colour next to an activated colour, if that makes sense. So I've got kind of some, I know what's going to happen to some degree, so. And you just keep dampening the brush. And then you can tease that colour back in, and then you've sometimes got enough kind of teasing power to kind of get back into there, but I'll probably only do two very small ones or a medium one. So if you wanted to put some more shadow in, you can, but the idea is always work light to dark. Oh, that's good, Suzanne. A larger brush, a large round brush. Yes, I must admit I've started to go for a bit shorter brush, because this is different to when you're using the watercolour effect than before. But yes, any brush will work with this. You just don't want it too wet. And as I say, I couldn't ever do large spaces and backgrounds, but I can now because I use these in a completely different way. So I can actually, before I could only do this in a small space because I used it differently. But now I can use this on a bigger space. So I can colour whatever space I want and then just activate it with water, with a damp brush. And you don't have any worries about your page warping. did that in the Colin Thompson book. I managed to do some quite large spaces, and I was worried about that because I didn't want to warp the pages, and the Colin Thompson book is one of the thickest pages that there is at the moment. So because I did that, I kind of lost that there, but we've nearly finished now. Just got a couple more swirls to do. But bearing in mind, I've doubled the space for the swirls. Yeah, this would have been done probably, I've done that one, yeah, probably, oops, sorry, I do apologise. Right, I'm just going to pin out and then I'll just finish this particular so as you can see, that's looking quite good now. So thank you for watching. This is the end of part 2.